Welcome to the Sports Media Beat with your host, Dan Lovallo.
It is appropriate as I begin this podcast that outside my in-home studio, a male cardinal, is chirping up a storm because we begin the Sports Media Beat, and we're putting this podcast together on Wednesday, July 15th, 2020, with the news that Tim McCarver will not broadcast St. Louis Cardinals games this year. McCarver choosing to opt out per the advice of his doctor. He lives in Florida. He now broadcasts St. Louis Cardinals games, not all of the Cardinals games, but some of the Cardinals games on TV. Of course, he's in the broadcaster's wing of the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown because of the work that he has done on national television over the years, and also his success as a broadcaster on local telecasts, whether it be the New York Mets, the New York Yankees, and yes, he also broadcast Yankees games, or the St. Louis Cardinals. Outstanding broadcaster, in addition to being a very good Major League Baseball player. But that said, even though a lot of these broadcasters will be broadcasting their baseball teams' games from the studio because of COVID-19, McCarver, per the advice of his doctor, and because of his age, he's 78 years of age, he will turn 79 in October, McCarver thought that it would not be a good idea to fly from Florida to St. Louis because of the virus raging in Florida. So Tim McCarver will not be broadcasting St. Louis Cardinals games this season. To my knowledge, at least to this point, he is the only Major League broadcaster, Major League Baseball team broadcaster, who has opted out of broadcasting the games. NASCAR, for the second straight weekend, NASCAR ratings increased by double digits year over year. Sunday's NASCAR Cup Series race from Kentucky averaged a 1.6 rating and 2.58 million viewers on Fox Sports 1, FS1. We're not even talking about over-the-air television here. We're talking about a cable channel, a sports cable channel, FS1, and the ratings doubled over last year. They raced in Kentucky, 1.6 rating, as I said, 2.58 million viewers, up a third in ratings and 24% in viewership from last year. So and I watched some of that NASCAR race, and it was quite a finish as Cole Custer won down the stretch. But fact of the matter is, the races continue to do very well on Fox. Now, speaking of Fox, some football news in regards to that network. The New York Post is reporting that Seattle Seahawks tight end Greg Olsen has been hired by Fox Sports to serve as an NFL game analyst after he retires. So he's already got a job set after he retires. He's going to become a NFL game analyst on Fox Sports. Mike Golic back in the news. He was one of the lead stories in our previous podcast. ESPN radio host who's now out of a job as far as a talk show host on ESPN. Well, he's going to stay with the network, at least for now. He will be providing analysis on college football games this fall. That is, if there is a college football season. Ivy League has already canceled. Patriot League has already canceled. These Power 5 conferences, slowly but surely, are announcing they're going to restrict their schedules to in-conference games. Who knows what's going to happen? But you just get the idea that every effort is going to be made, at least by the Power 5 conferences, to play football, particularly because football is the big moneymaker for these schools. A lot of the athletic programs at these schools are underwritten by the college football team. TV is looking for content. Let's face it, you've got the networks who have forked over big bucks to carry college football, but you have to wonder what is going to happen. Is there going to be a college football season? you read these comments from the presidents of these leagues or the commissioners of these conferences and or the coaches, even the football coaches, and you almost get the same line verbatim. And that is, well, if you had asked me this question 3 weeks ago, I would have been certain we were going to have a season come September, but now I'm not so sure. It's almost verbatim. You could go to 10 different coaches or 10 different commissioners, make 10 separate phone calls, and the answer is about the same. So no one knows, but if there is a college football season and ESPN carries games, well, then Mike Golick will be a part of the ESPN broadcast crew. By the way, WNBA is going to have some games carried on CBS. The CBS broadcast network is scheduled to carry the Liberty Aces game on August the 29th. Now, CBS has never before aired a WNBA game. And remember, they used to air the NBA way back when, and that last time they telecast an NBA game was in 1990. Remember, they used to have Brent Musburger do the games. Pat Summerall, for a time, did the NBA games on CBS. So CBS sticking its toe into the water as far as professional basketball is concerned by carrying that WNBA game. You know, on our last podcast, we didn't give you the ratings on the Rocket Mortgage Classic, and that was the PGA event weekend before last, telecast on CBS. Well, their audience was up 56% year over year. That's the tournament that Bryson DeChambeau won. And they averaged 2.38 million viewers on the last day of the tournament. 2.89 million viewers. The average was 2.38 million. The last day of the tournament, the day that DeChambeau came back to win, 2.89 million viewers. Now, I don't know what CBS did. I don't have the ratings yet for the tournament last week that was from the Jack Nicklaus Golf Course in Columbus, Ohio, but I'm going to make a prediction right here and now that you are going to see big-time ratings for this upcoming weekend for the big memorial tournament, again, on the Jack Nicklaus-owned course. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, this is one of the few times in the history of golf that you've had tournaments played in back-to-back weekends, at the same golf course, at least in the modern age. So pretty interesting to see the golf ratings. They continue to skyrocket, and I'm just a guess here, but I really believe that we are going to see record ratings for the tournament over the weekend, the memorial at the Jack Nicklaus-owned golf course. Jimmy Kimmel in the news. I don't know if you saw this story, but Jimmy Kimmel, yes, that Jimmy Kimmel, apparently is going to put together a production for ESPN on the 1986 New York Mets season. 1986 New York Mets season. Kimmel producing an ESPN documentary is the report. This was first reported by the New York Post. ESPN is producing a multi-part documentary series on the 86 Mets. That's the series where the ball went in between Buckner's legs and the Mets win it. Remember the great Vin Scully call in Game 6? And the Mets win it. Well, then the Mets also went on to capture Game 7. Red Sox had a lead in Game 7, too. They were up 3-0 in Game 7, going to the bottom of the seventh inning, and they lost that game. And, well, now a documentary is being put together on the 1986 Mets. Probably for next year, it'll be the 35th anniversary of that team. Mets have not won a World Series since '86, but it'll be the 35th anniversary of that team, and Jimmy Kimmel is producing it. Finally, Mike and the Mad Dog, one of the most popular sports talk radio shows in the history of sports talk radio, arguably the most popular sports talk radio show They are the ones you could say who made talk radio. Mike Francesa and Chris Russo, who made sports talk radio. WFAN New York. Then they split up in 2008 and went their separate ways. Mad Dog to Sirius Radio, and Francesa, who's still on FAN. Well, Mike Francesa reported the other day on his show that the archives of their shows have been lost. The tapes, I guess, were destroyed in a fire. Here's the New York Post report. The tapes for the majority of the wildly popular Mike and the Mad Dog radio show on WFAN were previously destroyed, Francesa revealed. The tapes from 1989 through 2002 are gone. Here's Francesa, quote, "The first year, when they had so much, they sent it to a place and a lot of it was stored and destroyed by accident. They had a massive amount of storage space to store all this stuff. Most of the stuff is pretty much after 2002, right up until Dog left. But pre-2002, gone." That's too bad, because they were at their height from 1989 to 2002. I can say this. I have in my archives a 1996 Mike and the Mad Dog program, which was I recorded on my cassette recorder. Remember cassette tapes? Well, I had my cassette recorder turning that day to record the Mike and the Mad Dog program because it was the day after the voice of the New York Yankees, Mel Allen, died. And they did a big tribute to Mel Allen that day. And they admitted on the program one of the mistakes they made was they didn't have Mel on the program often enough. I'm not so sure they even had Mel on the program other than for a brief guest appearance, but they admitted maybe we should have had him on the program more because the outpouring from the audience that day over the passing of Mel Allen was just something. And I happened to record a portion of the program, particularly since they had Kurt Gowdy on as a guest. And Kurt Gowdy, renowned sportscaster in his own right, broke in at the major league level under Mel Allen with the New York Yankees. But I have that on tape. Maybe I can contribute it to the Mike and the Mad Dog show archives. But just about everything between 1989 and 2002, gone, according to Mike Francesa. We're not gone. We're just going to say that's it for this edition of the Sports Media Beat. Be sure to visit my website, sportsmediabeat.com, and you can subscribe to the podcast in the Apple Podcast directory, Google, or your favorite podcast directory. And if you subscribe, then you'll be the first to know that the podcast has been uploaded and available for your listening pleasure. So thanks for listening to the Sports Media Beat. I'm Dan Lovallo.